The elevator doors slid open with a chime that echoed like a gunshot in my chest. And there he was, perched on the edge of his massive oak desk. Legs crossed. That same predatory smirk curling his lips like he'd been waiting to devour me whole. "Christian Hale? You're late on your first day," Aaron Blackwood drawled. His voice a velvet blade slicing through the sterile air of the penthouse office. Eyes locking onto mine with the precision of a hawk spotting prey from 1,000 feet up. I froze, the coffee tray trembling in my hands, because in that split second, the polished CEO before me shattered into the ghost of the high school tyrant who'd pinned me against lockers, whispered cruelties that still haunted my nightmares, and left me broken in ways I'd spent a decade trying to mend. Rain hammered the windows of my cramped Brooklyn walk up like it was trying to drown out the ghosts I'd carried across state lines. But nothing could wash away the memory of that face. Not even the fresh start I'd clawed my way into after years of scraping by in dead-end jobs. I'd landed the gig as personal assistant to Aaron Blackwood, the wunderkind CEO of Blackwood Enterprises, through sheer dumb luck and a forged recommendation from a shady temp agency. At 28, with a resume padded by community college credits and barista shifts, I was nobody's idea of executive material. But desperation has a way of sharpening your edges. And New York, it chews up dreamers and spits out survivors. I was determined to be the latter. The commute that morning was a blur of Subway sardines and overpriced lattes, my heart pounding with a mix of terror and exhilaration. Blackwood Tower loomed like a silver monolith in Midtown, a testament to old money remixed with tech bro swagger, glass walls etched with binary code, lobby fountains bubbling artisanal water flown in from Iceland. I smoothed my thrift store suit, the one with the faint coffee stain I tried to bleach out, and stepped into the executive elevator, badge clipped to my lapel like a scarlet letter. Floor 72, the AI voice purred, and up I went, stomach twisting into knots. When the doors parted, it was like stepping into a fever dream. The office sprawled like a billionaire's wet dream. Panoramic views of the Hudson glittering under the autumn sun. Minimalist furniture that probably cost more than my annual rent. An air scented with leather and ambition. And there, silhouetted against the skyline, was him. Aaron Blackwood. Taller than I remembered, broader in the shoulders, his dark hair slicked back just so, jaw carved from marble. He turned, and our eyes met, mine wide with shock, his narrowing in. Recognition? No, couldn't be. 10 years, a new city, a new life. But that smirk, oh God, that smirk was etched into my soul. "Christian Hale," he repeated, unfolding himself from the desk with the grace of a panther. His suit was bespoke, charcoal gray hugging his frame like a second skin, tie loosened just enough to hint at the controlled chaos beneath. "I don't tolerate tardiness. But since you're new, I'll let it slide once." He extended a hand, and I took it on autopilot, the warmth of his palm sending a jolt up my arm that had nothing to do with static electricity. Close, he smelled like expensive cologne and something darker, like regret fermented in aged whiskey. "Yes, sir," I stammered, forcing my voice steady as I set the coffee tray down. Black Americano for him, skim latte for me, though mine was going cold fast. Traffic was a nightmare. It won't happen again. Lies. The subway delay was real, but my real delay was the 5 minutes I'd spent hyperventilating in the lobby bathroom, psyching myself up for the role of a lifetime. He waved it off, circling me like he was appraising a racehorse. "Your resumes. Eclectic. Barista at some hipster hole-in-the-wall. freelance graphic design that looks like it was done on a napkin. What makes you think you can handle my schedule? His tone was casual, but there was an undercurrent, probing, like he was testing for cracks. I straightened, channeling every self-help podcast I'd binged. I'm organized, discreet, and I thrive under pressure. Plus, I know New York's underbelly, the best falafel trucks, the quietest dry cleaners. You need someone who can make the city bend to you, not the other way around. It was a line I'd rehearsed, but it landed flat under his gaze. Aaron chuckled, low and rumbling, the sound vibrating through the floorboards. Bold. I like that. Or maybe you're just desperate. He leaned in, close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his hazel eyes, and for a heartbeat, the room shrank to just us. Then he pulled back, clapping me on the shoulder harder than necessary. Start with my emails. Flag anything from the board. They're vipers in Armani. And Christian, don't fuck this up. I nodded, scurrying to the desk they'd set up in the corner, a sleek glass slab with a view that made my vertigo kick in. As I dove into his inbox, a deluge of corporate warfare unfolded. Merger proposals from Silicon Valley sharks, lawsuit threats from jilted investors, and cryptic notes from a JL that read like love letters laced with blackmail. Aaron paced behind me, barking orders into his phone, his voice a symphony of command that made my skin prickle. Every glance he threw my way felt loaded, like he was piecing together a puzzle I didn't know we were solving. By noon, we'd fallen into a rhythm, he dictating memos with the intensity of a general, me typing furiously, fetching dry cleaning that reeked of his cologne. Lunch was a power salad delivered from some Michelin-starred ghost kitchen, eaten at his desk while he grilled me on everything from my favorite dive bar to my stance on crypto regulations. You're from Ohio, right? Small-town boy in the big city. Bet this is a culture shock. Something like that, I muttered, avoiding his eyes. Ohio. Where it all started. Where Aaron Blackwood, then just Aaron, the golden boy quarterback, had ruled Elmwood High like a god, and I was the scrawny theater kid with the fairy vibes who dared to audition for Romeo opposite his Juliet. The whispers started then. Fag. Scrawled on my locker in Sharpie. Gym shorts stolen and paraded like trophies. That one night after the homecoming game when he and his crew cornered me in the parking lot, his fist connecting with my jaw before he sneered. Stay in your lane. Hail. This town's not big enough for your kind of drama. I'd left for New York the day after graduation, vowing never to look back. Therapy, odd jobs, a string of awkward dates with guys who ghosted after one too many questions about my baggage. And now, here he was, my boss. My tormentor reborn as a suit. The afternoon blurred into conference calls where Aaron dominated rooms full of suits twice his age, his charisma a weapon honed to lethal precision. I shadowed him, notepad in hand, catching fragments of his life. A penthouse in Tribeca, a vintage Mustang garage downtown, exes who called at odd hours with voices like silk-wrapped thorns. By 5, as the sun dipped behind Jersey, he slumped into his chair, rubbing temples etched with faint lines, evidence that even kings grew weary. Drink? He asked, producing a crystal decanter from a hidden bar. Scotch. Neat. I hesitated, then nodded. What harm in one? We clinked glasses, the amber liquid burning a path to my gut, loosening the knot there. To fresh starts, he toasted, I searching mine again. You ever feel like the past is just waiting to bite you in the ass? Every day, I wanted to say. but instead, only if you let it. The words hung between us, heavy with subtext neither dared unpack. That night, back in my apartment with peeling wallpaper and a radiator that clanked like a death rattle, I pored over old yearbook photos on my phone, Aaron's face frozen in adolescent smugness. Why hadn't he recognized me? Or had he? And this was just the opening act of some cruel encore? Sleep came fitful, haunted by dreams of lockers slamming shut and hazel eyes that promised both ruin and redemption. The next week was a whirlwind of board meetings in glass-walled war rooms, where Aaron's vision for disrupting urban mobility with AI-driven EVs had investors salivating. I was his shadow, anticipating needs before he voiced them: spare tie for the coffee spill, encrypted drive for the sensitive pitch deck. He noticed, of course. "You're good at this, Hale." Too good for a newbie, compliments laced with that edge, like he was daring me to crack. One evening, as we worked late under the harsh fluorescence, thunder rumbling outside like an omen, he tossed a file across my desk. "Read this. Tell me what you think." It was a personal dossier, not corporate, but raw, notes on a rival CEO, Jordan Locke, with photos that screamed infidelity, leverage that bordered on extortion. JL, I realized. The emails. "This is dangerous," I said, handing it back. "Blackmail could tank you." He leaned forward, elbows on knees, vulnerability cracking his facade for the first time. "Everything in this city is a knife fight, Christian. You learn to wield the blade or get cut." His hand brushed mine as he took the file, lingering a beat too long. "Electricity. The kind that ignites or incinerates." I pulled away, heart hammering. "Just be careful." His laugh was bitter. "Careful's for cowards. Stick around. You might learn something." As days bled into weeks, the barriers thinned. We'd grab late-night slices from a hole in the wall in Hell's Kitchen, him dissecting deal breakers over pepperoni, me sharing stories of my mom's diner back home, omitting the parts where Aaron's taunts drove her to early graves from stress. He opened up in fragments. Absent dad, boarding school scars, the pressure of inheriting an empire built on his grandfather's ruthless climbs. "I wasn't always this," he said one night, staring at the skyline from his office balcony, wind whipping his tie. "Asshole with a corner office. Used to be just a kid trying to prove he belonged." "Yeah," I whispered, the city lights blurring through unshed tears. "We all were, but the past festered." A company gala loomed, a black tie affair at the Met, where power players preened like peacocks. Aaron insisted I attend as his +1 arm candy. Joking about my rustic charm, I rented a tux that pinched, nerves frayed as we rode up in a limo that smelled of leather and champagne. Inside the gilded halls, chandeliers dripped light like liquid gold, and Aaron was in his element, handshakes with senators, whispers with starlets. I hovered, fetching flutes of Veuve, feeling like the outsider crashing the prom. Then, across the room, Jordan Locke sauntered in, tall, blonde, with a smile like a shark's. He made a beeline for Aaron, clapping him on the back with false bonhomie. "Blackwood, heard you're gunning for my contracts." Ballsy. Their banter crackled with subtext, Jordan's hand lingering on Aaron's arm a touch too intimate. I excused myself to the balcony, the cool October air a slap to my flushed cheeks. Footsteps followed. Aaron, loosening his collar. "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." "Not a ghost," I said, voice tight. Just memories. He stepped closer, the city a glittering abyss below. Spill it, Hale. We're past pretenses here. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. The lockers, the slurs, the night in the parking lot. It was you, Aaron. Elmwood High. You made my life hell because I was different. Gay. If you want the word, you threw at me like a weapon. Silence stretched, broken only by distant laughter from the hall. His face paled, then twisted shock, then something rawer, like guilt uncoiling in his gut. Christian. Shit. He reached for me, but I flinched. I was a scared kid myself. Dad's expectations, the team's bullshit macho code. I lashed out at anyone who threatened that facade. You were the easiest target. Easiest. The word cracked like thunder. You broke me, Aaron. I came here to escape that, not serve coffee to my personal demon. He staggered back, hand raking through his hair. I don't remember it like that. God, I was an asshole. But this, here, it's not coincidence. I saw your name on the short list and I pushed for you. To make amends, maybe. Or to see if I could. The admission hung, poisonous. Betrayal in a bow tie. Inside, Jordan's laughter boomed, a reminder of the games Aaron still played. I turned to leave, but his hand caught my wrist, gentle this time. Don't walk. Please. Let me fix this. But fixes are illusions. And as rain began to spit from the sky, I yanked free, the gala's lights mocking us both. The hook was set. Now the line would snap or reel us under. The fallout from the gala hit like a nor'easter, winds howling through the cracks I'd thought sealed tight. I called in sick the next day, migraine. I lied to his assistant via email, huddled in my apartment with blinds drawn, the city's pulse a distant throb. Netflix marathons and takeout lo mein couldn't drown the echo of his plea. Let me fix this. Fix what? The bruises faded years ago. But the fractures in my trust? Those were fault lines ready to quake. By Monday, avoidance wasn't an option. The office felt like a pressure cooker when I arrived. Aaron's door ajar, his silhouette pacing like a caged wolf. He spotted me immediately, striding out with 2 steaming mugs. Truce? He offered, pressing one into my hands. Chamomile, my secret weakness from that one overshare about insomnia. I took it, the warmth seeping through porcelain a fragile bridge. Truce, I echoed, though my voice wavered. We settled into an uneasy détente, professional by day, the air thick with unspoken indictments by night. He'd linger after hours, sharing war stories from deals gone south, his laughter a balm that soothed despite myself. Remember that time in Tokyo? Jet lag had me pitching to Yakuza types in broken Japanese. Thought I'd end up in a sumo ring instead of a boardroom. Chuckle, the sound foreign in my throat, and counter with tales of my own flops, a disastrous open mic where my poetry slam devolved into heckler brawl. It was flirtation disguised as camaraderie, his knee brushing mine under the desk. I was holding mine a beat too long. Forbidden fruit, ripe and rotten. But the past wasn't content to simmer. Jordan Locke escalated, his friendly overtures turning venomous. Leaked memos hinting at Aaron's unstable leadership. Whispers in investor ears about the dossier I'd glimpsed. Aaron confided over midnight runs to the all-night Dwayne Reed for Red Bull, his vulnerability a siren's call. He's got dirt on me, old stuff, from college. Party photos that make me look like a liability. If it goes public, don't let him, I said, surprising us both with the fierceness. You're better than that scare tactic. He stopped under a street lamp, breath fogging the November chill, and cupped my face, tentative, like handling fine china. Why are you still here, Christian, after everything I did? Because hate and want are twins, I thought, but aloud, maybe because people change. Or maybe I'm just stupid. His thumb traced my jaw, igniting sparks. Not stupid. Brave. Then he kissed me, soft at first, question, then deepening into an answer that tasted of scotch and second chances. The world tilted, New York's cacophony fading to the rush of blood in my ears. When we broke apart, gasping, his forehead pressed to mine. I've wanted this since the gala. Hell, since I saw your name and remembered the kid I couldn't stop thinking about. Thinking about how to torment? I teased, but my hands fisted his coat, pulling him closer. No. How to understand. You were light in that shithole town. I hated it because it showed me what I lacked. Confession spilled like rain, and we stumbled back to his Tribeca loft, a cavern of exposed brick and Eames chairs, where walls came down in a tangle of limbs and whispers. Making love to Aaron was revelation. His body a map of scars, faint ones from football fractures, deeper ones from boardroom battles, yielding under my touch like he'd been starving for gentleness. He was all contrasts, rough hands tracing poetry on my skin, growls softening to please. Stay, he murmured after, our sweat-slicked forms entwined under Egyptian cotton, the skyline winking conspiratorially. Not just tonight. Stay with me, I did, for weeks that blurred into a haze of stolen moments. Rooftop brunches with mimosas and moans, his head in my lap during late-night strategy sessions, my fingers carding through his hair as he unraveled merger models. He spoiled me rotten, custom suits from Fifth Avenue tailors, tickets to off-Broadway shows where we'd sneak kisses in the shadows. You're my secret weapon, he'd say, nuzzling my neck during elevator rides, his breath hot against my ear. The one thing Jordan can't touch, but secrets fester in the light. Jordan's campaign intensified, anonymous tips to the press painting Aaron as a volatile playboy with questionable entanglements. I saw the toll, Aaron's eyes hollowing, his temper fraying like cheap thread. One night, after a brutal call with the board, he lashed out, slamming a fist into the wall inches from my head, bourbon sloshing from his glass. They want my head, and it's all because of him, fucking Locke, digging up graves. I flinched, old instincts firing, parking lot shadows, the crack of bone. Aaron, stop. My voice was small, but he froze, horror dawning. God, Christian. I'm sorry. I didn't. He sank to his knees, head in my lap, sobs racking that unbreakable frame. I'm becoming him. The bully I was. The one who hurt you. I held him through it, rocking like a child, murmuring nonsense about forgiveness being a muscle, not a switch. But doubt crept in, a serpent in our Eden. Was this love, or just atonement wrapped in lust? And when Jordan invited Aaron to a neutral summit at his Soho penthouse, neutral my ass, I begged him not to go. It's a trap. He'll use you, or I'll use him, Aaron countered, straightening his cufflinks with forced bravado. Trust me, I didn't. Not fully. That night, alone in the loft, I rifled through his desk. Wrong. I know. but paranoia is a thief. Tucked in a locked drawer, emails from Jordan, not threats, but invitations. Intimate ones. Miss our late nights. Come over. Let's bury the hatchet properly. Photos attached, blurry, but unmistakable. Aaron and Jordan, tangled in sheets. Time-stamped 2 months ago. Before me. Betrayal hit like a sucker punch. Breath stolen. Vision tunneling. He'd played me the amends, the kisses, all a smokescreen while he juggled flames. I confronted him the next morning, printouts clutched like evidence in a trial. He walked in whistling, but the papers hit the marble counter like guillotines. Christian, wait, save it. You're still the same, aren't you? Tormenting me with half-truths, using me as your redemption prop while you fuck the enemy behind my back. His face crumpled, color draining. It was before us. Casual. Jordan's. Persuasive. But it's over. You're it for me. Liar. The word slashed, and I grabbed my coat, storming into the elevator as he pounded the doors. Christian, I love you. Fuck. I mean it. Love. The declaration chased me down 72 floors, but I was already falling into the abyss of a city that promised reinvention but delivered echoes. Days turned to radio silence. I crashed at a friend's in Williamsburg, dodging his texts, please, then anger, then silence mirroring mine. Work was untenable. I tendered resignation via courier. The note curt, effective immediately. Find someone else to bully. But New York being New York, paths crossed like fate's cruel joke. At a dive bar in the East Village, nursing a whiskey sour, Aaron slid onto the stool beside me, disheveled in a hoodie that hid his polish. Go away, I muttered, signaling the bartender. Can't. Not until you hear me out. He looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes red-rimmed. I ended it with Jordan. Told the board everything, leveraged his dirt against him. Deal's mine, but it doesn't matter without you. I laughed, bitter as the booze. Congrats. Another scalp on your belt. No. He grabbed my hand, thumb circling my knuckles. This isn't a game. That night in the parking lot, I hated you because you saw me, the real me, hiding behind the jock act. You were out, proud, even when it cost you. I envied that. Tormented you to kill the want. Want. The word hung. Electric. For you. Always. His voice broke. And in the dim bar light, with Springsteen crooning from the jukebox about Thunder Roads, he kissed me again. Not desperate, but deliberate. A vow sealed in salt and smoke. I melted, against better judgment, because love's a masochist. We tumbled back to my place, reclaiming each other in frantic, forgiving touches, his apologies whispered against my skin like prayers. But dawn brought clarity, and with it, the real storm. Reconciliation was a tightrope over a chasm. Every step a gamble between grace and gravity. Aaron wooed me back with gestures both grand and granular. Front row seats to a Knicks game where he heckled the ref louder than the crowd. Handwritten notes slipped into my new temp gig's mail slot. Poems cribbed for me. Cummings. Signed, your reformed bully. I resisted at first. Walls rebuilt higher, but cracks formed under his persistence. Give me a probation period, I demanded over diner pancakes one gray morning. No more secrets. No more Jordans. Scout's honor, he swore, saluting with syrup-sticky fingers. hazel eyes solemn. And for a month, it held. We built a life in the margins. Weekend hikes in the Palisades where he'd carry me piggyback over streams, cooking disasters in his kitchen that ended in takeout and tangled sheets. Quiet nights on the fire escape watching fireworks over the East River on the 4th. His head on my shoulder, murmuring dreams of a future beyond boardrooms. Maybe a cabin upstate where we could grow old and argue over who makes better pie. I let myself believe it. The boy from Ohio blooming under New York neon. Aaron introduced me to his world cautiously. Dinners with vetted execs who eyed me like an exotic pet, but warmed when I dropped Ohioan wit bombs. Christian's the brains. I'm just the pretty face, he'd quip, squeezing my thigh under the table. His touch grounded me, a tether in the chaos. But Jordan Locke was a specter with teeth. The merger closed triumphantly, Blackwood Enterprises swallowing Locke's startup in a bloodless coup. But victory tasted Pyrrhic. Whispers circulated, Jordan's ouster tied to personal indiscretions. Photos surfacing anonymously. Grainy shots of Aaron and me at that bar. My hand in his hair. Lips bruised from kisses. Tabloids pounced. CEO's secret surrender. Blackwood's bedroom boardroom? The backlash was swift. Board emails flooded Aaron's inbox. Concerns over image. Distractions. Veiled threats of ouster. He shielded me. Raging in private. Fuck them. This is 2025. Not the Stonewall Dark Ages. But Strain showed. Cancelled date nights for crisis calls. His smiles tighter. Touches lingering like farewells. Then the betrayal I'd half expected landed like an ambush. It came via a late-night knock on my door. Not Aaron, but Elena, his executive VP. A sharp-eyed Latina in Louboutins who clutched a USB drive like contraband. He didn't want you to see this, she said, slipping inside my apartment, her perfume cloying in the close space. But someone has to protect you from him. The drive held videos, grainy security footage from the Soho summit. Aaron and Jordan, alone in a private lounge, not fighting but entangled. Jordan's hands on Aaron's belt, Aaron not pulling away, then pushing forward, their silhouettes merging in a frenzy that ended with Jordan's triumphant smirk to the camera. Timestamp. The night after our first fight, when Aaron claimed he'd handled things alone. My stomach roiled, bile rising. Why show me? Because he's using you, Elena said, voice steel. To deflect from his mess with Jordan. I love Aaron like a brother, but he's toxic, always has been. The bully who charms his way out of consequences. Run, Christian. Before he drags you down. She left me shattered on the couch, replaying the clip until pixels burned retinas. Betrayal's second act. Sharper for the hope it had slain. When Aaron buzzed up an hour later, bearing tie and that boyish grin, I confronted him cold, drive thrust into his chest like a stake. His face cycled through denial, then devastation. It was a mistake. Heat of the moment, anger at you walking out. Jordan baited me, and I fell back into old patterns. But it meant nothing. Nothing. I laughed. Hollow. While I was breaking, you were fucking the knife in my back. He reached for me, desperate. I ended it right after. Came clean to you about the past because I wanted real. Us. Please, Christian, this is my rock bottom, but rocks at bottoms bruise. Your rock bottom's my hell, I spat, shoving him toward the door. Get out. We're done. He lingered, tears carving tracks down his cheeks, the unbreakable Aaron Blackwood, felled by his own hubris. I love you. Let me prove it. Love's not proof. It's action. And yours always comes too late. The door clicked shut, a guillotine on our fragile kingdom. The weeks that followed were purgatory. I quit the temp agency, too raw for suits and schedules, holing up with freelance gigs from a coffee shop in Bushwick, designing logos for queer-owned bakeries. The irony bitter. Friends rallied. My roommate Theo, a drag queen with a heart of gold, force-fed me cosmos and catharsis. Late-night vents to my mom over FaceTime, her Ohio twang a lifeline. Honey, bullies don't change. They just get better masks. Aaron's attempts pierced the silence. Flowers with notes in his slashing script. Forgive me. Voicemails hoarse with please. One coffee. No strings. I deleted them all, but ghosts lingered. His cologne on a scarf I'd forgotten to return. A song on the radio that screamed of thunder roads and mistaken dawns. Then, the climax brewed in a storm of corporate Armageddon. Blackwood Enterprises teetered, investors fleeing amid the scandal, Jordan's allies on the board circling like hyenas. Aaron called an emergency summit at the tower, all-hands fire drill. Against my better judgment, curiosity or masochism drew me there, slipping in as a consultant via Theo's industry hookup. The conference room buzzed with tension. Elena at Aaron's right, stone-faced, Jordan via video link, smirking from a yacht somewhere tropical. Aaron stood at the head, gaunt but unbowed, his presentation a masterclass in defiance. We've hit turbulence, but Blackwood's built on vision, not viciousness. Jordan's lies end today. He cued the dossier, not blackmail, but truth. Jordan's embezzlement trails, affairs with subordinates that screamed Me Too fodder. The room gasped as evidence unspooled, Jordan's feed cutting to static curses. But the rail bomb dropped when Aaron turned to me, spotlit in the back. And this is personal. Christian Hale isn't a distraction. He's my conscience. The man who taught me that power without heart is poison. I bullied him once, broke something irreplaceable. Now, I'd burn this empire to ash before hurting him again. Murmurs rippled, eyes on me, pity, intrigue. Jordan's voice crackled back. Pathetic, Blackwood. Trading stocks for sentiment? Your board will eat you alive. Let them, Aaron shot back, voice steel. But know this, the kid I hurt, he's stronger than any of us. And if loving him costs me the crown, it's a throne I never deserved. The meeting dissolved into chaos, votes called, alliances fracturing. I slipped out amid the scrum, heart a war drum, rain lashing the streets like judgment. Aaron caught me in the lobby, soaked and savage. You came to see the end, I said, but my voice cracked. Not the end. The beginning, if you'll have me. He dropped to one knee, not in proposal but plea, water pooling around Italian leather. I fucked up, Christian. Royally. But I'm all in. Therapy, transparency, whatever it takes. Be my partner, not assistant, not redemption. Partner. Tears mingled with rain. The city a blur of umbrellas and urgency. Forgiveness isn't erasure. It's choice. And in that alley off Fifth, with sirens wailing like wedding bells, I chose messy, human love over sterile solitude. The alley was a confessional booth under heaven's deluge, rain sheeting down in silver curtains that baptized our sins. Aaron knelt there, not the CEO but the man, vulnerable, drenched, his plea hanging in the mist like incense. Say something, he begged, voice raw over the patter. Anything but goodbye. I hauled him up, our bodies colliding in a crash of need and negation. You're an idiot, I growled, fisting his sodden shirt, pulling him into a kiss that bruised, fury and fire, absolution in the aggression. He groaned into it, hands framing my face like I was fragile glass, thumbs sweeping rain from my lashes. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the world reduced to wet wool and wild hearts. Does this mean? He ventured, hope flickering in those hazel depths. It means we're talking. Really talking. No more alleys. No more half measures. I dragged him to a cab. The ride to his loft a tense limbo of stolen touches over cracked vinyl seats. Inside, we stripped methodically, suits pooling like shed skins, then showered together, hot water sluicing away the grime of grudges. His hands were reverent, soaping my back with murmured litanies. I'm sorry for the lockers. For Jordan. For every time I made you doubt your worth. I turned under the spray, tracing the scar on his ribs from a long-ago tackle. And I'm sorry for not seeing you, the scared kid under the armor. But actions, Aaron. Show me. He did. That night and the ones that followed, with a ferocity tempered by fragility. Therapy sessions he dragged me to, couples counseling in a sunlit Soho office, where we unpacked Elmwood's debris under a no-nonsense shrink named Miriam. Bullying's often projection, she'd say, as Aaron admitted his father's belt marks hidden by Letterman jackets. I shared my own silos, the internalized shame that made me flinch at mirrors, the parade of flings that never stuck because trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. The boardroom battle raged on, a gladiatorial spectacle with Aaron at the Coliseum's heart. Jordan's counterattack was vicious. Lawsuits filed, media leaks portraying Aaron as a serial manipulator, preying on vulnerable employees. The employee was me, of course, twisted into a narrative of coercion. Protests erupted outside Blackwood Tower. Activists with signs reading, CEOs out of closets. Not beds. A mix of support and schadenfreude that left Aaron barricaded in his office, chain smoking despite the no-smoking signs. I stood by him, not as arm candy but ally, drafting press releases that owned the narrative, turning scandal into strength. Blackwood Enterprises champions authenticity. We declared in a joint op-ed for the Times, my byline beside his. Love isn't a liability. It's our superpower. The response was tidal. Stocks dipped then surged on queer investor influx. Allies from tech titans to grassroots orgs rallying with endorsements. Even Elena thawed, admitting over espresso, you humanized him, Christian. Made the beast bleed heart. But conflict crested in a personal tsunami. Aaron's father, Reginald Blackwood, the iron-fisted patriarch who'd built the empire on leveraged buyouts and broken unions, flew in from Palm Beach, a specter in seersucker demanding audience. We met him at the loft, Aaron's knuckles white on his tumbler of Macallan. Reginald was a relic, silver temples, eyes like chipped flint, voice booming disapproval. This dalliance, he sneered, gesturing at me like I was a bad investment. It's suicide. Investors flee instability. Boy. And for what? A phase? Aaron's face hardened, the quarterback resurfacing. It's not a phase. Dad. It's my life. Christian's the best thing that's happened to me, to us. He's why I'm fighting for a company that values people, not just profits. Reginald's laugh was a bark. People? You're soft. I raised you to conquer, Not coddle. His gaze raked me. And you, gold digging your way up? I've seen your type. Leave before I make you. The slur landed like a slap, but Aaron exploded, shoving back from the table, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. Get out. You're the bully I escaped, not emulated. Blackwood Enterprises dies with your hate. The old man stormed out, disowning threats echoing down the hall. Aaron collapsed after, tremors racking him, and I held him through the breakdown, sobs into my chest, confessions of a childhood bartered for approval. I became you to win you, he choked. Hurt others to prove I could. But Christian, you make me want to be better. For us, we made love then, slow and sacred, reclaiming agency in the aftershocks. But dawn brought the real quake. Reginald's countermove, a proxy fight to oust Aaron, backed by old guard board members. The vote loomed in 2 weeks, a corporate crucifixion. Aaron threw himself into the fray, schmoozing allies at galas that left him hollow-eyed, while I orchestrated from the shadows, leaking counterdirt on Reginald's offshore skeletons. Tension simmered into snap. One night, post a brutal strategy session, Aaron snapped, flinging a crystal decanter against the wall, shards exploding like his fraying control. It's all slipping, Dad's winning, Jordan's gloating, and I'm losing you in the crossfire. I backed away, old fears flaring, parking lot echoes. Don't. Not like this. He froze, hands fisting hair. Fuck. I'm sorry. Again. But apologies were eroding trust's foundation, and as he knelt to sweep glass, I saw the cycle, bully to broken, rinse, repeat. The vote day arrived under steel skies, the boardroom a coliseum of oak and ostentation. Aaron presented his case, a vision of inclusive innovation, EV fleets for underserved neighborhoods, queer-led diversity initiatives. I watched from the gallery, heart in throat, as proxies debated, Reginald's faction decrying woke weakness, Aaron's allies championing evolution. The tally was razor close, 51-49. Aaron retained control. Jubilation erupted, hugs from Elena, tears from underlings, but Aaron's eyes sought mine across the room, victory hollow without witness. We celebrated that night at a queer club in Chelsea. Bass thumping like liberation. Bodies grinding in a sea of glitter and grit. Aaron pulled me close on the dance floor, sweat slick and smiling. We did it. You did it. But as strobe lights flashed, a shadow slithered in. A text on his phone, illuminated in his pocket. I glimpsed it. Jordan. Congrats, lover. But wars aren't won in bedrooms. Watch your back. Paranoia spiked. Was this checkmate or prelude? Back at the loft, bliss soured into suspicion. What does he want now? I demanded. Phone snatched. Aaron sighed, deflating. Nothing. Old habits. He texts to rattle. Show me. The demand was steel, and he complied, unlocking a thread of taunts, temptations. The latest, a photo of us at the club, candid and compromising, captioned leverage, betrayal's echo, faint but fatal. You're still playing his game, I accused, packing a bag. I can't do this yo-yo, Christian. No. He blocked the door, desperation etching lines. It's noise. You're my everything, but everything fractures under scrutiny, and as I pushed past, the door slamming like finality, I wondered if love was redemption or just another pretty cage. Exile was self-imposed. A voluntary Siberia in a sublet in Harlem. Cozy chaos of exposed pipes and neighbors' salsa rhythms bleeding through walls. I threw myself into freelance fire, branding for a trans advocacy nonprofit, mood boards for indie films that screamed queer catharsis. Paid the rent, barely, but filled the void with purpose, a reminder that I was whole sans Aaron. Therapy solo now, Miriam's couch a confessional where I dissected the addiction. He was my dragon, fierce, flawed, familiar. Slaying him meant slaying parts of me. Aaron respected the space at first. Gifts rerouted to donations in my name. Voicemails evolving from begging to benedictions. Saw your design in that mag. Proud of you. Always. Then radio silence. A mercy that stung worse than pleas. New York conspired to collide us. A mutual friend's holiday party in the village. Twinkling lights and eggnog masking awkward orbits. He looked wrecked. Leaner. I shadowed. But when our gazes locked across mulled wine, the pull was gravitational. Christian, he breathed, approaching like a supplicant. You look radiant. Survival suits me. I quipped, but my pulse betrayed me. We talked, stilted at first, then spilling into depths. His ouster of Reginald's cronies. A new board charter mandating inclusivity clauses. My nonprofit gig morphing into a full-time offer. I'm building something, I said, chin lifted. Without ghosts. He nodded, pain flickering. You deserve that. I've been working on me. AA meetings for the anger, volunteering at the Ali Forney Center, kids like we were, hiding bruises under bravado. His hand hovered, then dropped. No pressure. Just, no, I'm rooting. The party faded as we wandered to Washington Square, snow dusting the arch like confectioner's sugar. Under a lamppost's glow, he confessed the nadir, a relapse bender after my exit, waking in a hotel with Jordan's number scrawled on his palm, uncalled, but the temptation a scar. Hit delete. For you. For us, if there's still an us. There might be, I admitted, breath clouding. But slow. No empires, no exes. Just two guys figuring out trust. We started there, coffee dates in neutral territories. Walks in Central Park where squirrels begged for crumbs and we bared souls sans sex. He shared journals from therapy, pages inked with regrets reframed as growth. The bully was fear, the lover is courage. I reciprocated, reading him my poetry, verses of lockers and longing, his tears salting the pages. Spring thawed the ice, blooming cherry blossoms mirroring our tentative thaw. Blackwood Enterprises stabilized under Aaron's reformed reign. Profit sharing for queer staff, partnerships with HRC. He credited me publicly, a TEDx talk where he outed our story. Voice steady. Love saved me, not from scandal, but from myself. Christian Hale isn't my assistant. He's my architect. The world responded with roars, viral clips, podcast invites, a profile in Out that dubbed us New York's redemption rom-com. But fame's glare tested, paparazzi tailing our brunches, trolls spewing vitriol online. Aaron shielded, but one night, after a brick through our new shared window, scrawled with fags out, he cracked. Why us? He raged, pacing the loft, fists clenched. I fixed the board, the company. Why can't the world let go? I pulled him down, grounding. Because change scares them. But we're proof. Bullies become builders. With time. Time wove us tighter. Summer road trip up the Hudson in his Mustang. Windows down. Springsteen blasting. Stopping at diners for pie fights that devolved into laughter-laced kisses. Fall brought proposals, not rings, but futures. Move in officially? Co-own the cabin dream. I said yes under harvest moons. Our commitment a quiet ceremony at City Hall. Witnesses Theo and Elena. Rings simple tungsten etched with from ashes. Yet climax loomed in winter's grip. Jordan resurfaced. Not vengeful, but vanquished. A call from rehab. Voice slurred but sincere. Tell Blackwood. I get it now. The hurt I caused? Mirror of my own. Apologize for both of us. Aaron took it in stride. Hanging up with grace. Healing's a solo gig. But thanks. The true peak crested on a snowy eve. Blackwood's holiday gala transformed into a benefit for LGBTQ+ youth shelters. Aaron keynote. Me at his side in a suit that fit like destiny. Midway, he paused, mic trembling. This empire? It's ours now. But the real legacy. He dropped to one knee. Velvet box blooming like a rose. Christian, you turned my bully's heart to gold. Marry me, not for show, but for the boy in Ohio who deserved better. Gasps rippled. Tears mine. Yes, I choked, pulling him up into a kiss that silenced the room. Applause thundering like catharsis. But stories don't end tidy. Humanism demands nuance. Months later, as wedding plans swirled, vows in the Palisades, moms meeting amid awkward hugs, the past whispered one last test. A letter from Elmwood High. Reunion invite. Ghosts RSVP'd. We went together, hand in hand through gymnasiums echoing old taunts. Former tormentors approached. Sheepish. Heard your story. Man. Sorry for the kid stuff. Aaron faced his reflection in the quarterback who'd led the pack, offering handshake over grudge. Water under. Let's build bridges, not burn 'em. Driving back under star-pricked skies. Mustang humming. I leaned on his shoulder. Think we made it? He kissed my temple, voice soft. We're making it. Every day, New York sprawled before us. A beast tamed, not conquered, but coaxed into companion. Love, we'd learned, isn't absence of conflict but alchemy of it. Betrayal to bond, bully to beloved. In the city of reinvention, we'd rewritten our script, not fairy tale, but human hymn. Flawed, fierce, forever. And in quiet moments, watching him sleep, chest rising steady, face unmasked, I knew the bully was myth, the man, my miracle.